saying we are going live, and I cannot tell time today, but welcome everyone. It's time to excel, and we're just going to pretend that it's 11:30,
Yeah,
and we are right back on target today and on track, which has not worked at all today whatsoever. And I think isn't that characteristic of just what but yet we still have a choice. We can still choose to excel. And even though Ann and I had some conflicts and, we were just in 14 different directions today,
today, yes.
we still made the effort. We still chose that even though we're going to be late, at least according to it's the quote 11:30 sometime somewhere. But we are here, and we are just so excited to have one another have this opportunity to share with you. And even though, as I said, we're a little off on time that we normally would be, we did want to connect. And just sometimes life gets in the way. It truly,
Absolutely.
truly does. And next thing you know, it's like 5 o'clock, and you know what? We'll just go with it. 5 o'clock somewhere, or 11:30, depending on how you look at it. But we welcome everyone because it is time to excel, and it's time to ignite and inspire the possibilities that 2021 is. It's here. It is here. It is ready to go. And we are in the throes of it. We are 6 days in, 6 days. I think how many days? I've lost track of time over the last couple of weeks. But we are 6 days into 2021, and we thought this was a great opportunity to kind of have a chance to chat with one another because we want to have people thinking. We want to have people thinking about the future and how can they excel? And how do you do that? And I think when you and I were talking, I think that's kind of why we wanted to jump in on this topic because it is a time for reflection. It's not a
Absolutely.
time for dwelling. It's a time
Yeah.
for reflection. And that reflection is personal. It could be business. It could be across the boards. And one of the things I mentioned in the book is like your business and your personal finances mirror. Your
Oh,
business and your
absolutely.
personal life mirrors. And that
Mhm.
is the reflection that you're seeing. So as we kind of continue through this, what can we do? How can we make this be beneficial to kick off 2021? Because 2020, I think most of us are just really happy to see it in the past. I know my 2020 has gone out with a bang, and which is part of the reason it was causing me grief today, but that's okay. You know what? We're still here. We are here, and we're still making a conscious effort, and we can move forward on that. So, what we want to take a time is that time of reflection, but even more importantly, the focus on us, because it's also a time to be healthy. And
Yes.
that health isn't just in your mind, it isn't in just your body, it's across the board. And it's healthy from head to toe. And that's one thing we want to bring up because Anna has a group that is healthy from head to toe. And that is her primary focus. But it's also ours because we need to figure out how to do that. So, thinking about that, time to reflect. What do you think? What should we be reflecting on right about now that 2021 is here, like it or not?
Yes. That's right. That's right.
What's the first thing you're thinking of? If we're going to reflect, what do you think we should do? I mean, of course, numbers come to my mind. I'm like, okay, let's look at the financials. Let's get. That's just how my brain works. So, me and Hammy are having some good friends. Like as far as that. Hopefully, folks will see Mr. Hammy popping up. Because of course, with the book here, that's
Oh, yeah.
Hammy, and he is a mission in 2021, and he's going to help you turn your Hamiltons into Benjamins, and that is his ultimate goal. And that is what we want. So we're talking about excelling profits. We're talking about excelling on the financial side. And
Yes.
that we really want to do that. So when I first think in third things I was reflecting, I'm looking at last year's finances. Did I hit my goal? Did I come close? Did I fall a little short? And the answer is yes to most of that. Because some of them were hit, some of them were a little short, some of them were just tweaked a little,
Hmm.
and that's okay because that's part of the puzzle as we're putting it together. So I'm hoping lots of folks will join Hammy as we kind of continue from there. So what are you thinking? What's the first thing that you're going to be reflecting on?
So the first thing I'm going to be reflecting on is health. As you mentioned, I started this group in the midst of the pandemic, healthy from head to toe, because I realized that was one of the things that in all the craziness before COVID hit is I wasn't taking time to focus on my health. I was so busy running around trying to do my business and doing this and holding appointments and networking and whatever that I wasn't eating right. I wasn't at all. I
Or
wasn't
eating at all?
exercising, yeah, at all. And So it's really given me time to slow down. Actually, you may remember my word for the year last year was simplify.
Sure.
And God gave me that word in January, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? But then when everything hit, I'm like, that's the message he's trying to tell me is I need to slow down. I need to reflect. I need to make sure, am I taking care of myself? Because I can't be of service to anyone or anything if I'm not taking care of me first. Almost like they tell you in the airplane, put on your oxygen mask first before assisting others.
That's
And
true.
it gave, oh, yes, absolutely. And it gave me time to not only focus on health, but to really focus on my numbers, thanks to you
Hmm.
helping me think more about that because you're the numbers person, not me. And, but it gave me time to slow down and realize, oh, these are things that I am doing well in my business on the financial standpoint, and I need to continue. But then there's other things that I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I not doing that? And so for me, reflecting then and then reflecting now and looking back, I'm thankful that I had that time to slow down and simplify and really focus on my health and my finances because I'm in a almost a much better place now than I was pre-pandemic because of that, because I took time to slow down and
And I
focus
think
on
that's, I mean, you
things.
hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. You've got to take that breath. You've got to take that step
Yes.
back. And I think that's why, I was looking at the numbers and realized that I pretty much almost I increased my revenues 50% last year. It was right under
Wow.
50%. And I hadn't realized it until I finally put it because it got a little crazy towards the end of the year. Even like I could not make up the end of my year. It is what it is. It's just part of it. But it was really interesting when I actually looked back and I'm like, so that part actually, I was happy with a 25% growth, but at 50%, I'm like, okay, even better yet.
That's
So,
amazing.
but a piece of it was I got those systems back in place. A piece of it was I almost simplified in essence because I had to refocus because of the chaos. I had to really streamline my practices. It forced me
Yes.
into if I'm going to function, then I have got to do it by simplifying, by getting a much more structured, like point A to point B to point C, because I didn't have time to think how to get to D.
Hmm.
It had to be in place. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And I think what we both found is health wise, you feel better.
Yes.
And if you're
Oh,
in
yes.
chaos and stuff, we can't do it. When we were not eating right, when we were just running on ragged, not sleeping, the bags under the eyeball,
Hmm. Just running on adrenaline. Yeah, pretty
you
much.
can't keep that pace up
No, you can't. You
permanently.
really
You
can't.
cannot do it. You're going to hit a brick wall eventually. And I think that's why we were talking about that. Like, this is the time that you really need to take that step back. Go check out where your numbers are. Figure out, did you even have goals last year? If not, that might be a good place to start. Let's see where you were at, see where you landed on some of those numbers, see where your revenues are, and then
Hmm.
figure out what you want this year to be. And it's not just numbers, it's health because you can't get to
Absolutely.
the numbers if your health isn't in place. You
I
can't
totally
get
agree with
there.
that.
You
Totally
absolutely
agree with that.
can't. And I mean, I love the group name because it's healthy from head to toe because that is the truth. It's not just in your head, it's not in your just physical body.
Hmm.
It's the mind, it is the body, it is in general that health. And it's crazy that if you exercise, you feel better, but you don't
Yes.
have time to exercise. So then you're on this vicious cycle. And I think we
Hmm.
get trapped into that. And I think that was one of the
Absolutely.
best things that you mentioned, COVID. You've gotten out and walked more.
I have. I've gotten out and walked, and that is actually what helped me start this group. Is I was part of another group, and every day when I would walk, I would actually take my cell phone and do voice texting and journal in it. And so I was almost thinking out loud. And each day I would come up with a
Okay.
new idea. It would seem like when I started moving is when this thing started moving too, and I started coming up with ideas. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is a very into physical fitness. She teaches fitness classes, and
Mhm.
she's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." There, and she told me the science behind it. I don't remember, but something about there's a chemical that triggers in your brain when you're moving, and your thoughts begin moving. And so it's like scientific. But for me, it was cool because that's where I really started getting clarity on those walks. And so, not only was I feeling better and my waistline's looking a little bit better, but
Mhm.
I noticed I'm coming up with all these ideas, or I'm working through, okay, I don't know how to do XYZ on technology. So this afternoon, I'm going to Google how to do that and figure it out. And
Mhm.
then the next day, I would be journaling, hey, I'm so proud of you. We figured this out. We Googled it. And even though we're not a techno babe, we figured it out.
You got it.
And and so you're right. I mean, it was amazing just moving and getting that exercise. It increased my energy physically, but up here too, and
And
really
the
helped me.
emotional drain. I mean, and I think
Absolutely.
that's huge. I mean, I've gotten hit a lot on the emotional side, just with everything going on and just trying to balance everything out. And I'm feeling it, and it's interesting. I know I have about another week or so that until I get everything kind of settled down a little bit. But when that emotional drain hits, I can't focus,
Me
and
too.
I
I'm the
think
same
that
way.
that's an issue. Like, and I think too many people fall into that.
Hmm.
But at least if you have a plan in place, and I think that was your key. You mentioned you had those goals. You knew what you were aiming for. So
Hmm.
even if you got emotionally drained, even if you got physically drained, you could take that step back because you knew the direction you were going.
Yes, and
And I
that
think
was huge.
that's the key is you've got to really, and you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. It works together.
Yes,
It's like you drive your car, you're looking in the rearview mirror, but you're driving it forward. But and that it just kind of fits together, and you've got to do both in order to get where you're going.
absolutely.
And I think that's really, really an important characteristic to be thinking about is how can we do that? How can we really figure out where we're going if we have no idea where we've been? I mean, I can say, okay, I want to make this crazy number. Okay, I want to have $1 million in sales. Well, if I'm only at 10,000, it's going to be a little hard to get there in 1 year. Not
True.
impossible, but there are going to have to be some key things in place. So
Absolutely. You're gonna have to have a
realistically,
plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
so realistically, if I round, okay, let's round numbers because at this point in the game, we're going real round numbers. If I was at, $50,000 and I want to get up to, 200,000, then I know that I have to increase one fifth, but that's a pretty big increase.
That
That
is.
may not be where I'm going. Maybe instead we say, hey, let's just get a 20% increase. So
Mhm.
that means I need to tweak just one or two steps maybe that says, okay, this works. So if I do a little bit more of this, maybe I can get that 50 up to 75. And that math probably doesn't work at this point, but it's going to for tonight because, it's 11:30. So it's all good. And we're just going to roll with it. But I think that's what we got to start thinking about is you need to know where you are and where you've been. And then, but you don't just need to worry about the numbers. You've got to worry about you because we can't get there. We absolutely cannot get there. And what are some of the things, because you've been doing this now for quite a while, what are some of the tips that you have learned or that maybe have shared on your group where, there's some tips that we can think about going into this 2021 craziness?
That's a great question, Janet. And I want to kind of comment on what you
Mhm.
just said about healthy from head to toe. When I was really thinking about the name for this group, you're right, health is all encompassing. It's not just our physical health, but it's our mental health. It's our emotional health. It's our financial health. There's so many pieces to that. And I have been very blessed in my networking to meet a lot of folks who
Mhm.
are experts in things that I am not.
Yep.
For instance, you with the numbers, I know other people that are in, the health realm as far as nutrition or
Hmm.
fitness or mental health or emotional health. And so I have learned so many things. Um, I kind of did this group to help others and encourage others, but honestly, it's been a blessing to me, and I've learned so
Sure.
many things from the group that I honestly wouldn't have known otherwise. But I think those are some of the biggest things. Is like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. You've got to take care of yourself, and the thing I've learned, and I'm sure you would agree with this, having this time to reflect, I realize now that I do make better choices when it comes to eating, to my fitness. I think about, is this going to give me energy? Yeah,
Yep.
that cheeseburger is going to taste really good going down, but what am I
Is
going
it
to
going
feel like
to
later? Am I
sustain
going to
me?
be bloated? I'm sensitive to gluten. So am I going to be itching later and broke out in hives because I
Yes.
ate that bread? And so I've noticed that now and I still eat the cheeseburger sometimes. I'm not going to lie,
Well,
but
we're human. We gotta,
yeah,
can't
yeah. I
deprive
mean, you've got to
immediately.
indulge, and you can't beat yourself up either. You've got
No.
to, because sometimes, especially depending on where I'm at, I may have a choice of this or that. So I'm choosing, okay, what's the lesser of the evils? Which one is
Right.
going to be a little bit better? But I think that's what it's helped me really realize is I think more about my energy because, like you said, we've got to take care of us so that we can take care of our clients or take care of our families or our
Yeah, we're
business
no
or
good
whatever we're doing.
if we can't function.
Hmm. So it really makes a difference, to do that. And with those foods, a friend of mine, she is a health coach and she studied a lot about nutrition. And that's one thing she said to me. And she and I are good friends, so we were kind of talking
Mhm.
after I interviewed her, and I told her, I was like, sometimes I make not good choices food wise, and then I beat myself up later. And she's like, you can't do that. Eat the apple pie if you really want it. Just don't eat it every day. Eat
Right.
an apple. That's a much better choice than apple pie,
Mhm.
but apple pie is better than maybe a candy bar. So, you
Exactly.
have to weigh out those choices.
And I think
And
one
for
thing I
me, that was
learned with
huge.
that, yeah, that would be. And I know
You
what
know,
I learned, if I had, if I wanted that cheeseburger at lunchtime, I just had a healthy meal on the next one,
yeah,
which meant
exactly.
once a week or whatever, I could have that cheeseburger if I
Hmm.
really wanted it. But then I just needed to plan around it. So maybe the next 2 days I was a little bit more disciplined. And I think that falls through, and that mirrors right from, personal to business, even to your finances. You can, I encourage folks to get a fund money. You've got to have, when you're doing your budget, you actually incorporate a little bit of fun money in there. So it's something that you're going to enjoy to do, because we have to reward some of those small things as we're going. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to
Absolutely.
plan for it. You've got to work through it. And I think that makes a huge difference. So as you said, you can have the cheeseburger. It's all right. You can have the apple pie. It's okay. This maybe 3 days you're gonna have apples.
Yeah,
And
exactly. You're
that's
going
all
to eat a
right.
fresh apple. Yeah. Yeah,
That
exactly.
makes a difference. That's really cool. And I think that is really, really important as folks are thinking. Because ultimately we are looking to get people to excel. It is
Yes,
there. It's time. Like 2020 is behind us. Now let's start looking to that future, and how can we? Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of it is. That's why we have so much fun with this, because we're inspiring, igniting those possibilities, and we want people to start thinking a little bit and kind of thinking
absolutely.
what we can do and how can we incorporate health as part of the package deal. And that's some really great points. Is there anything else that you can think of, that comes to mind, that were great little tips that maybe people really need to be thinking about? We talked about kind of doing that reflection and kind of seeing, and I think you should do personal and business, financial. Like I
Absolutely.
believe you have a thing that we have done. You've done it a few times, where there's key areas. So it's
Yes.
finances. It's, you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I normally do that this time of year.
Hmm.
It's based on a book that I read, and you're right. It's a book about setting goals in different areas of your life. And like you said, a lot of people I'm talking to, it's New Year's. So, New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals,
Right.
and for some people it's health, it's finance related. But this book actually suggests that you'd not just pick one or two, but you think about the different areas of your life.
Hmm.
Like you said,
Yeah.
what are my goals for my career or my business? Those are probably tied to my financial goals.
Sure.
But still, I'm going to write down what my financial goals are. I'm also going to write down, this is interesting in the book, and this is something I'd never seen in all the years that I've learned about goal setting. And I know you've done a lot with goal setting too,
Mhm.
is think about goals that are going to help with your personal growth.
Mm.
Um, and goals that you're going to do just for personal enrichment. A lot of times we think about, okay, I want to lose 25 pounds and I want this much money in the bank and whatever. But like for me, as I was sitting writing it out, one of my personal enrichment goals is to plant a garden. I love being outside. I hate
Ah.
being stuck inside. And so for me, every year, that's one of my goals, because if I plant a garden, that actually helps with a bunch of my goals. That's going to get me outside. So that's going to reduce my stress, which is
Yep.
one of my health goals, to watch my stress levels. It's also going to help me with exercise because, I mean, gardening, you're weeding and you're doing stuff,
Mhm. Sure.
carrying stuff, digging. So that helps with my exercise. Another health goal is to eat more nutritious food. And
Yeah.
so I'm growing it myself. So I know it's organic. Now I can't certify it, but, if I don't put pesticides on it, it's organic. Um, let's see what else. So that's going to actually help with my financial goals. That's going to save me money because I'm growing my own food. So you see right there, that one thing, I've hit like
You've
four
touched
different
all
goals
4
in just
areas.
one area. And so a lot of times when I tell people that, oh yeah, you should set goals in like 10 different areas, they're like,
Yeah, well,
like
what?
it just blows their mind. But then
Mhm.
when I tell them that one, about my gardening and how that
Yeah.
one thing covers 4 or 5 goals, they're like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I could probably, yeah. And so, I encourage you and think about goals that are just bucket list items. Um,
That's a good idea.
for instance, I was cleaning out my file cabinet the other day and I found a goal sheet that I'd written out like 10 years ago. And one of the goals on that other list was I wanted to own a classic car. I wanted to own a 1968 Mustang convertible. Now, why did I pick that year? I don't know. I just really like
That's what you
Mustangs.
wanted.
That's what I wanted. My cousin had one. And so I was like, oh,
Okay.
that'd be cool. So actually, about 6 or 7 years ago, my hubby and I had the opportunity to buy a 65 Mustang. Now, it's not a convertible and it's not a 68, but it's a 65. And, I had totally forgotten about that goal sheet. And when I found it, I was like, oh my goodness, I remember writing this
You
10 years
remembered
ago and just thinking this is like pie in the sky. I'll never own one of these. And then here we are, and I've got one at home. So, other goals like that, maybe travel, just different things. Maybe the goal is as simple as you enjoy reading. I really like to
Mhm.
read, and maybe it's you want to read one biography every month from an
Or
exceptional
one
person,
book.
or one book,
I'd even
period.
say whatever, just get a book.
Self-improvement book or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and just writing it down, setting a date and time you want to complete it. And
It's
like you said,
huge.
it all comes down to the planning. I would read those goals once a week. And some of the goals that I wrote down were easily achievable, and other ones, like the Mustang, I was like, I'm never going to do
It's
this, but
gonna be
it
on
would
this
be
list
so cool, and
forever.
I want to do it. But it happened, and so it's like getting it in your head and seeing it in your own handwriting. It just makes such a difference.
And that goes right back to your overall health. I mean, I
Hmm.
was thinking here too. I mean, you were saying about gardening. I said if I can get to a point, if I would just commit to doing a walk, a 10-minute walk, I could take the boys with me. Bear may not be getting in all the videos so much anymore. Yeah, but it would cross all of those lines.
It really would,
It
because
would cross, and I would feel better.
you would. So that would improve your health. You'd have
Mhm.
exercise. Oh, relationships. So you would have quality time with them. So,
Mhm.
your
And
boys
maybe
are
less
gonna love
fight.
that. Yeah.
That's been another part of this entertainment. This one, but yeah, maybe we can end some of the arguments because they're
Mhm.
working together instead of against one another.
Yeah,
And that makes a big difference. And I think that goes also with even our relationships, even in networking and things like that, is
absolutely.
what do we need to be spending time with? What do you want to improve? Whether it's
Mhm.
personal, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, and the answer is in all of the above. Set
Absolutely.
something and then see what would go across the board. What
Mhm.
one thing could you be doing that would allow you, just like that gardening, it allows you to touch all of those areas. Your stress is down, and I'm sure all of us on the stress level.
Yeah.
Stress has been high in the
Yeah.
past year, and I'm not sure 2021 is starting out a whole lot better at this point in the
I
game. But
I
it is
understand.
here, and it's here, but it's a choice. And I think that's where, we're always talking about is what choice. We can't control the situation around us, but we can control our reaction.
True. I
And
absolutely
that's
agree with that.
directly related to our health and how can we do it. And
Yes,
that makes a lot of sense. And
it
maybe you
does.
wouldn't have pacing dogs, because they're all pacing here. I don't know. It must be, it's not supper time yet. It's still a little early here, kids. But this fits into the day. And I think that happens too, is you can get yourself so rattled and on a hamster wheel in the respect of just life in general.
Oh, yeah.
When you run that hard, the first thing that's really affected is your health.
Mhm.
And how often do you get bound? You wait until it's too late, shall we say? You wait until something happens so drastic. You land in the hospital. Maybe you end up twisting an ankle because you're rushing too far. Now what are you going to do? And I think that's when we make the poor decisions too,
Yes.
is because we don't have that direction and we're just running. And when we start running, eventually your health is going to suffer. The stress is going to get to you. Stress is, oh my goodness, the number one cause of a lot of issues is stress
Yeah.
related. And it is really cute to see a puppy. And even though he is going to absolutely drive me nuts today, get
Hey, Bear.
the child has to get in there. But at least they're not having too much arguments. But he's nipping at my toes. So I don't know. We must be about
Uh-uh.
that time because he's like, "Let's go, mom. It's time to go outside."
So I was gonna say, probably definitely want to plan that walk with them, because that'll
Yeah,
help their stress levels too.
yeah. So I can actually get something done, and I know that's what they want. They haven't been out for a while. I should have left them out before I got. I usually do, and time escaped from me, but it's all good. You make it work in spite of the chaos.
Oh, oh, yes.
It is what it is. So
Oh,
hopefully
yes.
we can do that. So what else can we think of that we want to share with folks? Because we want to focus them to excel. Your group. Do you want to go ahead and put that in the comments? Is anyone, who are you looking for to help join into that group and that community? How can we
Sure.
support you?
Thank you. Anybody that's interested in health, and I know that sounds very general, which hopefully is everyone. Um, Feel free to connect with me. I will
Okay.
invite you into the group. It is a private group,
Hmm.
and this group is a little different. I hope it's okay to share that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, okay. So my group is a little different in that we are a sales-free zone. I
Hmm.
modeled this after the group that I was in that inspired me to start this group.
Yeah.
And so this group is all about education. So even though I'm a beauty consultant with a direct sales company, I don't even mention my company. I ask my speakers, we don't talk about what we do so much because I don't want them to go, oh, well, that's a realtor. I don't need a realtor. I want
Right.
them to go, oh, she's talking to me about these fitness goals. And,
Hmm.
I want them to connect with them on a personal level.
Right.
And so that is the only, prerequisite I have for the group is that I just
Hmm.
ask that we remain sales
It's
free,
so great. Hmm.
just because that way people are more open to listening. Like I said, if they hear that the person does XYZ and they don't need that, sometimes their brain shuts off. And I don't want their brain to shut off because they could be missing the exact speaker they need to hear that
That's
has the
true.
same hobby or the same health issue or the same whatever as they do. So, but I have been very blessed with the speakers I've had. I am looking for speakers. So
Okay.
if any of your viewers have expertise in something, or maybe they just even have a hobby. One of my group members, I will tell you, she's a CPA, but she is wonderful at cooking. She's all the time putting all these cooking recipes on Facebook, healthy recipes, and she is extremely gluten sensitive. So they
Ah.
have a health spin. And so I asked her to come on and speak about that.
Mhm.
She never mentioned that she's an accountant, but she talked about, her love of food and being a
Sure.
foodie and having the ability to alter recipes so that now that she's gluten free because of health reasons, she can still enjoy her food and still have a great time. And one of my friends in the group, her daughter is gluten free and her
Okay.
daughter Jill will get like violently ill. So I really wanted those two. I even tagged Steph in the post because I was like, hey, you need to watch this. And so
Mhm.
she texted me later and she's like, I'm so glad that you did that because I'm struggling because she has two other kids and
And
a
she
husband
was
to cook for.
sure.
And how do you try to make just food for this child or do you try to
Mhm.
change everybody's diet? So it was really helpful. So, again, if you're interested in health, I would love to invite you to join our group.
Okay.
And, in the group, like you mentioned, we talk about not just physical health, but mental, emotional, financial health. I've had you on as
Yeah.
speaker.
We've had
Um,
a lot of fun with that
yeah,
and an opportunity because as you said, it's inclusive.
it
It's
is. It
absolutely.
is. I mean, that was why I really wanted to name it that because it truly is health from your head to your toes. And
Absolutely.
it's just all encompassing.
And that's important to really, and I appreciate that. And even we bounce off through, I am going to mention, of course, next week is my Excel Your Profit. So I would love
Yeah.
to have you. So if anyone is interested in actually getting a copy of the book, that's a great way to take advantage of it because part of that workshop next week is you get a copy of the book mailed to you. Um,
Ooh.
so I'm kind of really excited about that. We've got about, I think, almost 20 people registered, so that's kind of fun. There's two times to pick from. And it's just a great way to kind of jump start 2021 where we're going to talk about some key strategies, where we're going to talk about a little bit of the accounting background and kind of why you want to be doing this. We're going to talk about some proactive approaches that we can take. And the cool thing is, not only do you get a copy of the book, you also get the companion journal and workbook as well. So that is an extra
Ooh.
bonus that is there. So I'm going to pop that into the links as well. And if anyone wants to join us, there's still a little bit of room there. And if you are registered, I know life happens. There will be a recording available for anyone who is registered. So I'm just looking forward to that because I just want to have some fun because I really want to. We've got Excel our profit, and there's different ways we can do that. And there's a couple of ways. There's limited, but there's still a couple of ways we can do that. And that's what we want to focus on is what systems do we need to get in place? How can we proactive and what are some of the accounting things that sometimes get overwhelming. So I would love for you guys to join, check out Anna's group from Healthy to Head to Toe. It's a great opportunity. It's a lot of great information. I get a lot of it every time and you're out there quite a bit. And we're always encouraging folks, please join us every Wednesday here because you never know what's going to happen. We do keep it close to 11:30 most days,
Yeah.
but it's a wonderful time to have that actually happen. So thank you so much, Anna, for jumping in here, even though it's 11:30,
Absolutely.
at least in my mind. We'll go from there. Is there anything else I did mention in the comments? I went ahead and put your name out there and Healthy from Head to Toe as your Facebook group so that they can find you. So check out those comments.
Excellent.
The
Thank
link to
you.
Excel Your Profits is there as well. And next week is the actual Lunch and Learn. Oh my goodness, we are at the second week of the month. Oh my goodness, yes, okay. And I believe it's Microsoft Excel next month. I probably should have looked that up. But I do believe it's Microsoft Excel. That is our Lunch and Learn next week. So I look forward to anyone that would like to join us. We just want to educate, we want to inspire, and we want to ignite the possibilities because it truly is your time to excel. So anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And, I guess the last thought I want to leave is kind of piggybacking on what you said a while ago about it all goes to planning. Whether you're talking about your health, you're talking about your finances, I think you hit the nail on the head with that because it's all about planning ahead and setting your intentions
Right.
and then tracking those to make those goals actually become reality. And I think that's so important. So I am super excited about your workshop next week. I can't wait to hear about this because I'm sure there's a lot of business owners like me. I was in business for almost 20 years and didn't know a lot about the finances. I mean, it was just part of the business and I had to do it,
Right.
but it wasn't like, oh, yay, I know how to do this. And so I think for a lot of business owners, we're busy doing what we do best and maybe not focusing on those numbers. And you and I both know that's a key part of
Part
success.
of and working together. And I think by surrounding yourself with the folks that are going to be supportive, because there'll be a little bit of that where you get to meet some new people. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. And it was designed to just be very simplistic. It's designed to just kind of kickstart and
Yeah.
then see what options we have so that we can be healthy from head to toe by looking at some of those reflections and moving forward. So
Yes.
wonderful. Well, thank you again so very, very much. We
Absolutely.
look
My
forward
pleasure.
to seeing everybody here. Check out Healthy from Head to Toe. Check out the link there. Join us for the Excel Your Profits. There's all kinds of different things. Check out the business Facebook page. Make sure you like both of the pages, and that way you get notified as to when things are going. So have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take care.